Have you ever felt like, suddenly, the world you always lived in stopped making sense? It's as if you've woken up from a deep sleep, while everyone around you is still dreaming. This is the starting point of the journey of the chosen ones, those who feel the urge to seek something deeper, beyond appearances and the exhausting routine. Walking the path of spiritual awakening is a beautiful process, but it carries a challenge that is rarely mentioned: the loneliness of growth. When you begin to expand your consciousness, your values change and your priorities shift. What once seemed important, like status or others' approval, now feels empty, creating an invisible gap between you and others. There is a real danger in this journey, and it does not lie in physical threats, but in the isolation of the soul. As you surpass the worldview of those you live with, the feeling of not belonging becomes constant. You look at the people you love and realize they no longer share the same frequency, which can be frightening and painful. Being a chosen one requires immense courage to face the unknown, without the guarantees of the past. It's as if you are shedding your protective skin for a new one, becoming vulnerable while the transformation happens. However, that fragility is what allows you to become someone more authentic and connected to universal truth, letting go of old illusions. Follow each reflection I will bring next to understand how to navigate these changes without losing yourself. I am George, and I invite you to subscribe to our channel now to strengthen our community of seekers before we share the next steps of this transformative journey that will change the way you see life. The vulnerability of the new shell. Imagine the life of a lobster that lives in the depths of the ocean. In order to grow and become bigger, it must go through a very specific and delicate process. It has to abandon the hard shell that protected it up until that moment. Without that outer protection, it is left with a completely soft body, exposed to the dangers of the open sea. The chosen one lives exactly this moment, when they decide they can no longer fit into their old reality. The real danger that now arises is not something that harms the physical body, but something that shakes the deepest emotional foundations. When you leave behind old beliefs, you lose the protective shield of social conformity. Being like everyone else brings a sense of safety that in reality is false. Letting go of that demands a bravery that few people possess nowadays. Many try to hold on to the old shell, purely out of fear of judgment. They prefer to live cramped, suffocated, and unhappy, rather than face the risk of being seen as different. However, the chosen one feels deep down that staying in the same place means dying slowly on the inside. Spiritual growth requires that you accept walking without skin for a certain period. It's a stage where you trust that something much greater is emerging, even if you can't yet see or touch this new reality. During this transition period, your sensitivity increases drastically. Friends' criticisms feel heavier, and the feeling of helplessness can steal your sleep for several nights. It's essential to understand that this fragility is not a sign of weakness. On the contrary, it is the beginning of a new and much more authentic strength. You are simply letting go of everything that was false and borrowed in your life until now. While the new protection is not yet fully formed, the world around you feels like a strange, noisy, and even hostile place. Old habits of entertainment and consumption no longer bring the same pleasure they once did. You find yourself in an empty space, where the past is already gone, and the future is still a big uncertainty. This total exposure is the necessary price to pay to never again live limited by invisible walls. Learn to honor this moment of vulnerability, for it is sacred ground for real transformation. Do not try to speed up the process nor seek refuge in places or people you have already outgrown internally. The chosen one must learn to rest in discomfort, knowing that their essence is being forged in the silence of the soul. This is the first great trial by fire for anyone seeking true freedom and spiritual connection. All transformation requires total shedding of who we thought we were. The lobster only gains a new shell because it had the courage to be naked before the vast ocean. Likewise, your new spiritual identity will only be born if you allow the old one to die without trying to save it. Accept this state of absolute surrender with patience. Seeing what others haven't noticed yet. Spiritual awakening works like someone turning on a very bright light in a room that had been dark for decades. Suddenly you begin to see dust, cracks, and details that no one else around you can perceive. Being a chosen one means that your vision has expanded in a definitive and profound way. The obvious and the superficial no longer satisfy your hunger for truth. You begin to notice the invisible gears that drive people's behavior in society in general. While your acquaintances argue about celebrity gossip or material possessions, you find yourself reflecting on the greater purpose of being alive today. This new, clear vision is not meant to make you feel better or superior to anyone else. It simply places you in the position of a silent and attentive observer. You see people desperately chasing shadows and empty promises of happiness. This generates enormous compassion for those who are still lost. The great trap in this phase is allowing the ego to turn this perception into spiritual pride. The true chosen one does not look down on others. He understands perfectly that each human being has their own time to awaken. He recognizes that his journey only led him outside the common box. You begin to see a deep beauty in the simplicity of things and a screaming falseness in the world's spotlights. Many times, you will feel a natural urge to share these discoveries with the people you love most. You want them to feel the same freedom, but often receive only silence or ridicule in return. It is a challenge to accept that not everyone really wants to see the raw and naked truth. Some people prefer the safety of darkness and habit over the challenge of dealing with the light. They feel threatened by the clarity you emanate. This teaches you to choose your words more carefully. This new perspective completely changes how you consume news, movies, and even how you behave at work. You realize that much of the human noise is just an attempt to fill an internal void. The chosen one stops accepting ready-made answers given by institutions and starts seeking their own direct experience. This mental independence is extremely liberating, but it can also be frightening at the beginning of the journey. Seeing beyond the veil of appearances means you will never again be able to ignore the spiritual reality of life. The solid world that everyone accepts without questioning starts to feel like a fleeting illusion full of layers. You become a kind of foreigner in your own homeland. You walk the same streets as always but feel that you belong to a much more eternal and meaningful place. Your priorities change because you now see what is permanent and what is merely cheap distraction to keep the mind busy. Clarity is a gift that demands responsibility and great patience with the world around you. By seeing what others ignore, you gain the chance to act with more wisdom and less reactivity. The chosen one is the one who sees the storm coming but maintains peace, because he knows the calm of his own center. The dilemma of living in two worlds. The journey of the chosen one becomes a daily exercise in balancing between realities that seem not to touch. On one side, there is the common world, where you have to pay bills, work, and participate in social conversations. On the other side, there is the deep dimension you've discovered, where silence and the truth of the soul are the only things that matter. Navigating between these two poles is a task that requires a lot of energy and patience. You start to feel like you're living two lives at the same time. In the outer life, you play your role on society's stage. In the inner life, you inhabit a vast and sacred space that most people around you don't even suspect exists. Many times you find yourself in meetings or family dinners feeling like a visitor from another planet. People's concerns with status, gossip, or material goods begin to seem strangely small. It's not that you've become arrogant, but your heart now seeks answers to much deeper and more urgent questions about existence. The great challenge is learning to speak the language of the market, without forgetting the language of the spirit. You need to be efficient in your job and present in your commitments, but without letting the noise of the world extinguish your inner light. It's like being a spy of the light, infiltrated in a reality that still values only what is solid. Many people try to hide what they've discovered, so as not to appear strange. They pretend they still care about the same things as before, but that creates a painful internal split. This fragmentation of the soul is exhausting, as you spend a lot of energy trying to maintain a mask that no longer fits who you've truly become. The chosen one needs to understand that being in the world is part of their mission, but being of the world is a choice they can no longer make. You learn to carry out the simplest tasks with a new consciousness. Washing dishes or driving in traffic becomes moments of presence, while others are lost in chaotic thoughts. This duality requires you to create anchors of silence throughout your day. Small pauses to breathe and remember who you truly are essential so as not to get lost in the rush. Without these pauses, the weight of conventional reality can suffocate your new perception, making you feel lost again. Living in two worlds is a test of integrity. It's the opportunity to bring a bit of the peace you found into the most chaotic environments. You don't need to preach or try to convince anyone. Your own calm in the midst of chaos already communicates everything that is needed. You become a point of silent balance. Over time, you realize that these two worlds don't need to be at war. The spiritual life is not an escape from reality, but a way of living reality more fully. The chosen one learns to use the tools of the conventional world to manifest the purpose of their soul, uniting the high and the low. Isolation and the shift in frequency. As you move forward in your awakening, something inevitable begins to happen. Your energetic frequency changes, and in the universe, different frequencies cannot occupy the same space for very long. This is when isolation starts knocking at your door. People who were once your constant companions begin to drift away naturally. This distancing rarely happens because of a big fight or direct disagreement. Usually, it's a slow and quiet process. The subjects you used to have in common lose their charm. Where there once was laughter and connection, now there is an uncomfortable silence or a forced conversation that leads nowhere. For the chosen one, this period of isolation can be one of the saddest and most confusing phases of the journey. You look around and feel like you've lost your group, your tribe. Those who have known you forever now seem like strangers. They also sense that you've changed, and that change makes them feel insecure and even a little scared. The danger of this isolation is that you may start to doubt your own sanity or the path you've chosen. The mind may try to convince you that you're making a mistake and that you should go back to being normal to regain your friendships. But the chosen one knows that there is no way to unsee what has been seen, nor to unlearn the truth. People around you may react by trying to pull you back to their level. They'll say you're acting strange, that you're taking life too seriously, or that you've become difficult to deal with. These criticisms are, in fact, a defense mechanism, because your new posture questions the automatic lifestyle they are living. It's essential not to take this distancing personally. Understand that each person is at a different step on the ladder of consciousness. The fact that you've climbed a few steps doesn't mean others are bad. It just means your vision now reaches different horizons. Isolation is the womb where your new identity is formed. At this stage, You learn to appreciate your own company like never before. Loneliness ceases to be a punishment and becomes an opportunity to hear the voice of your intuition without external interference. It's in the emptiness of solitude that the chosen one finds the strength needed to sustain the light they now carry within. This period of social cleansing is necessary so that new encounters can happen in the future. The universe is just making room in your life. If you keep holding on to relationships that have already died just because you're afraid of being alone, you won't have free hands to hold the new connections being prepared for you. Accept the silence with gratitude, even if it hurts a bit at first. Use this time to get to know yourself better and to strengthen your spiritual roots. Isolation doesn't last forever, but it is the final test to know whether you are loyal to your truth or prefer the approval of the herd. Resist the temptation to shrink yourself to fit again into old circles. Being a chosen one means having the courage to walk alone for a stretch of the path, knowing that, further ahead, others walking at your same pace will appear. Loneliness is the price of authenticity and the gateway to true freedom. The danger of living a double life. Many chosen ones, upon realizing the abyss that has formed between them and the world, try a dangerous strategy: total camouflage. Out of fear of losing their job, their marriage, or the affection of friends, they decide to hide their light. They begin to live a double life, pretending to be the same person they used to be while keeping their greatest truths locked away. At first, this seems like a smart solution to avoid unnecessary conflicts. You go to parties, laugh at jokes you don't find funny, and agree with opinions that no longer make sense to you. However, the price of this performance is extremely high for your emotional health. Wearing a mask requires constant mental effort that drains all your vitality. The greatest danger of living like this is the fragmentation of your soul. When you say one thing and feel something completely different, you begin to betray yourself. This inner dishonesty creates a constant discomfort, a sense that you are becoming a stranger to your own essence. Spiritual growth requires integrity, and a double life is the opposite of that. By trying to please everyone and maintain appearances, the chosen one ends up stuck in a spiritual limbo. They no longer belong to the world of illusion, but also haven't fully surrendered to the truth. It's like having a great treasure buried in your backyard, while continuing to live in poverty out of fear that the neighbors will notice you've changed status. This strategy of hiding who you are also prevents real people from getting close. If you're always wearing a mask, the new companions of your journey, those who would truly speak your language, won't be able to recognize you. You condemn yourself to a much worse kind of loneliness than being alone. The loneliness of being surrounded by people who don't know you. Moreover, the people around you pick up on your vibration, even if you don't say anything. They feel that you're distant, that your gaze has changed, and that your energy is no longer the same. Pretending that nothing happened creates mutual distrust. Deep down, everyone senses that there is a secret, and this creates invisible tension in all your relationships. The chosen one needs to understand that authenticity is not a luxury, but a basic necessity. Being faithful to what you've discovered is what gives meaning to all the suffering you've endured until now. Denying your new vision is like trying to push the butterfly back into the cocoon. It's something impossible that only creates distortion and suffering. There comes a moment when the internal pressure becomes unbearable. You realize you'd rather be rejected for who you are than loved for who you pretend to be. This is the great liberation. Abandoning the double life means accepting the consequences of being truthful, knowing that only truth can lead you to the next level of your evolution. The courage to tear down the walls of pretense brings immediate relief. You stop monitoring every word and gesture. Even if some doors close, the peace of breathing without masks makes up for any loss. The chosen one understands that their light wasn't lit to be hidden under the bed, but to illuminate the path, no matter the cost. The dark night and the emptiness of the in-between. After shedding the old shells and deciding to stop pretending, the chosen one enters one of the most sacred and difficult territories, the dark night of the soul. It is the period of absolute emptiness. You are no longer who you once were, but have not yet become who you are meant to be. You are in the middle, in limbo, like a seed beneath the soil. In this phase, it seems that all the light you found has disappeared. The joy of the first spiritual discoveries gives way to a feeling of desert and uncertainty. You wonder if everything you experienced was just a breakdown or a fantasy of your mind. The silence of God or the universe seems to be the only answer to your prayers. The dark night is dangerous because it makes you want to give up everything. It's the moment when loneliness hurts the most because you feel abandoned both by humans and by the divine. You look back and see burned bridges. You look ahead and see only fog. It is a test of faith that requires you to walk guided only by the feeling in your heart. Many people confuse this phase with clinical depression. Although the symptoms seem similar, the dark night has a different quality. It is a sadness with purpose. It's a melancholy that seeks the essential. Deep within your being, you know that something is dying, so that something much greater can finally take its place and bloom. In this desert, you are forced to face your shadows head-on. Your fears, your childhood wounds, and your deepest secrets come to the surface to be integrated. The chosen one does not run from pain. They go through it. They understand that the light they so seek is hidden exactly behind the fears they most avoided facing throughout their life. Learn not to fight the emptiness. Be still. In the midst of the dark night, the best thing to do is not make major decisions and simply observe what's happening inside you. It is a period of silent maturing, where your roots are going deep into the earth, so that in the future, your tree can bear the weight of the fruits. The exit from the dark night happens as mysteriously as its entry. One day you wake up and realize the light has returned, but in a different form. It is no longer an euphoric glow, but a solid and unshakable peace. You have survived the void. Now you possess a strength that no one can take away, because it was earned in absolute darkness. The chosen one who passes through this phase becomes a master of themselves. They have discovered that truth does not depend on favorable external circumstances. They have learned to find their own fire in the midst of the snow. The dark night of the soul is the final portal separating the seeker from the real encounter with their own divinity and life purpose. Getting here was not easy. Awakening has never been a comfortable path, and that is the truth that few have the courage to say. The cost of awakening is high because it demands renunciation, truth, and courage to see reality without masks. You lose people, lose certainties, lose old versions of yourself. But none of that is truly a loss. It's a release. When you awaken, what hurts is not the awareness itself, but the end of the illusion. You realize that many relationships only existed as long as you fit into other people's expectations. You understand that not everyone will walk with you to the next level. And that hurts. It hurts because you're still human. It hurts because you love. It hurts because growing also means learning to let go. Awakening demands silence, solitude, and responsibility. It no longer allows pretending, no longer allows outsourcing your choices, nor living on autopilot. From this point on, you know too much to go back. And that is exactly what makes you stronger, more lucid, and more aligned with who you truly are. The price of awakening is breaking from the comfort of unconsciousness. But the reward is something that cannot be bought: clarity, inner freedom, and peace with your own truth. You begin to live with less fear, less need for approval, and more loyalty to your essence. If you've made it to this part, it's not by accident. Something inside you recognizes these words. Something inside you already knows. Now I want to hear from you. Comment below. Which part of this content spoke most to your story? Your comment is not just a response. It's part of the process. Sharing also helps others understand that they are not alone on this path.